So what's the history on this gym bag?
To the best of my knowledge, I mean,
Yeah.
I used it in the 7th and 8th grade
Okay.
over at Northside. And the 6th grade, I'm sure I did not have it because I went to school up at Southside School and we didn't have anything like that up there. But probably the 7th and 8th grade, maybe freshman, sophomore years of high school. But the last 2.5 years that I was on the varsity, I know that we used the locker over there, and I'm sure that that's maybe when I lost track of it. But Gala, for some reason or another, had it and brought it down, and there it is.
So that would be from the early 40s, you're saying?
Well, yeah, I graduated in 46, so I'm assuming probably that in junior high, maybe like 41, 42 along in there, and maybe 43 and 44 when I was playing B-team ball. As close as I can come up with it, I would say it was probably in the early 40s to middle 40s.
Do you remember other kids having them also?
No, I really don't. I don't know that, I'm sure that somebody did. But you know, it's just like back in those days, we weren't furnished basketball shoes. We had to buy our own until we were in high school. And I think B team players got shoes furnished to them. And I know that's true because when we were on the varsity, we used Converse shoes, and prior to that time, we used Ball Brand. If you remember the Ball Brand,
I don't.
Well, they were Ball Brand.
Red Ball?
Red Ball,
Red Ball Jazz.
yeah, Red Ball, yeah. But anyway,
Right on.
and we would, when we were finished with them, I think we used them for 1 or 2 years in high school, and then the B team got them, as I recall. But we were Converse, and it's probably the same way with this gym bag. I mean, you know, you went out and bought your own, and I have no idea where I bought it from or where my parents bought it from.
But tell us about what you used to use before that. You mentioned it earlier. What you put your things in.
A pillowcase. Yeah. Mom would have a pillowcase and put your shoes, your socks, and your strap, and practice pants or whatever, and then over your shoulder, and away you went to practice. You know, that's what it was, pillowcase. Sure. You bet.
That's great. Thanks for bringing those in.
Well, you know, I told my wife there's a lot of sweat and effort and a little bit of blood that goes with this letter. I mean, and the reason that it was off of my sweater when I was over at IU, why you could wear your high school sweater, but you couldn't have the letter on. You had to take the letter off. So that's the reason I took it off. But at any rate, why?
So when you're out of high school, you go to college, you're not allowed to use that
Well,
old
I don't know
letter.
if all schools are like that. When I was out to New Mexico State Teachers College, and I didn't even take my sweaters with me out there, but I had a red one and a white one, and but I took the white one. It was on the white sweater. It was a coach sweater type, and that was the regulation over there. You could have your high school sweater, but you needed to take the letter off of it.
So what attracted you from Aurora to IU and then out to New Mexico? How'd you
Well,
make that transition?
When I graduated from Aurora in 46, our coach was Don Odell, and Don Odell was a friend of Ken Gunning, who was the coach that recruited me and Jack Kirsch from Lawrenceburg, and there was 3 other guys from Indiana, up in the northern part of the state, and Ken was the coach out there, and he wanted to take 5 guys from Indiana out there to play basketball. It was a division school, very small, but at any rate, why that caused me to go out to New Mexico, and when I was out there, I decided it would be better for me because I wanted to teach and I wanted to coach, and I thought if I could get a degree from a bigger school, maybe I'd have a better opportunity for a better job. So I dropped out there and came back to Aurora and went over to IU. And obviously I wasn't good enough to play on the basketball team, but spent a year over there, and then decided that it was thing to do was get married, and that's what I did. So I didn't graduate from IU, but spent some time over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you didn't teach, you,
No, I was going to be. Was going to get a major in history. I wanted to teach history, and I wanted to coach, but I didn't do either one.
but what you did do was, tell us.
Well,
For how many years did you referee?
I spent 47 years up the building alone, and it was a good move. I think probably. I don't know if I'd have been happier in the education part of it, but this was a good experience for me up there.
But tell us about your refereeing. You refereed for how many years that you could recall? You refereed when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So that was in the 70s.
I refereed till I was probably in my 50s, and Harold Hickman is the one that got me interested in it when he came here to coach, and I'm not even sure what year it was that he came here, but we became good friends. And he said you should get your official's license, and I applied for him and got him, and worked a lot of junior high ball games. Then I finally got into a high school schedule and worked a lot of B team ball games, and then finally got myself to the point where I called a number of varsity ball games. I guess my my most rewarding game was to work one game of the sectional up at Lawrenceburg, and I don't even remember what year that was, but worked with a fellow from Shelbyville, and Bill Slayback, I think, was coaching North Dearborn at that time. And we had 2 ball games to work up there, and I enjoyed that. But I had a good enough schedule that kept me busy, and I worked on Fridays at the building alone, and I didn't feel that I could take off, and I never got that good or that big a schedule to work. But I worked probably for, I'd say close to 30 years calling basketball, something like that. Pretty close to it, maybe. Yeah.
Kept you healthy, didn't it?
Oh, I hope. I mean,
Tell us what year you were born.
1928.
1928.
Yeah.
That's now 2000, almost 2019, 18.
If I make
So-
it till May the 5th, I'll be 90 years old in May of 2018, yeah.
So it did you some good running up and down the court.
I think so. Well, it didn't hurt me, I don't think, Dick, too much. It was a good experience, right? You bet.
Thanks for sharing your memories.
Well,
Come back often and do that.
I have a lot of real close feelings for Aurora, and certainly for the school. I don't know why it is, but to me, I'm closer to my class and the people that was in it in high school than any of my college friends. And I guess maybe that's just the way it's supposed to be. You're smaller and closer, and you become, I think, better acquainted with your classmates, and that happened to me, I know.
You know, we were talking before about that feeling of a small town, and everybody knows you and you know everybody, and it goes back generations, backward and forward, and you just kind of
Well, that's right.
have an affinity for people because you knew their parents and grandparents and so on.
Well, you know, I guess, and I don't know if this is a good statement to make, but I really felt, and I was on the school board out here, took Dr. Frable's place when he resigned, and was on it until, well, I don't know, for 2 or 3 years, I guess, but it was during the time that they were attempting to build a school, find a site to build it. And I always felt that South Dearborn really doesn't mean that much to me, but my closeness is with Aurora High School. And I don't know if that's a good comment to make or not, but that's the way I feel. And I kind of felt I lost my identity when Aurora became South Dearborn. Wish them all the luck in the world and on anything that they do, and I think they've, made a lot of strides, but still I look back at what we did way back, many years ago.
And we're going into 2018, and it will be the 40th year anniversary of Aurora closing and the beginning of South Dearborn High School, and you played a role on the school board from that. What was that like? Contentious, or How'd you feel about that?
It was frustrating. We had 7 people on our board at that time, and we were trying to find a place to put the school. And we felt that out on 50, there was a very suitable site. And at that time, it could have been purchased, I think, for a cheaper amount of money. I think the taxpayers could have maybe reaped some benefits by it being out there. And it seemed to me like location-wise, it was as central, or maybe even a little bit more central than other places. But the faction was that, and of course, 350 was not built at that time. So, I mean, that had to come. And fire protection and a number of other things. It was certainly on the board to be considered, but that wasn't to be, and the school is out where it is now, which I think is an outstanding, beautiful facility, but that was frustrating. I mean, I felt then the other 2 people that was on the board, it was on my side of the fence at that time, I think felt the same way, that we could offer it sooner than what it was at the time, and probably cheaper, and would affect, not adversely, but for the betterment of a lot of students, you know, sooner than later. But at any rate, that was kind of an ordeal, and I spent some sleepless nights over that.
Well, I was in the first class that graduated from South Dearborn, so I got to experience both, and I can tell you it was a unique experience to have that transition from the old school to the new school.
Well, I'm sure.
And of course, here we are 40 years later, and we still call the new school.
Right.
Still call it the new school. It's been around 4 decades.
Well, that's true, and I just think, like I said, every time I drive by it, I think what really a nice, fine facility. But you know, the day that we went up to look at the site, Elmer Brandt had a tractor and a flatbed wagon that hauled the board members up and stopped, and you know, this is the site where we're proposing to have it. And it was, like I say, it was outstanding, but you couldn't get there.
Right. That's right.
And as I say, the other things that needed to be available when a school or anything else like that was going to happen just weren't there at that time. But
Now, whose house was it that's still there today up on the hill? That was, I can't think of the name now, sorry. But anyway, I remember my dad taking me up there to that farmhouse, which
Yes.
is still there today. If you drive up to one of the ball fields, the baseball fields,
I'm not
go
sure.
back there. I know you know their name, and I know their
I
name, but
would
it's
too,
slipping my
probably.
mind.
I can't come up with it, but I know Elmer Brandt, and I'm trying to, probably on the tip of my tongue, I may.
Newman.
Yeah.
Newman's.
Harold Newman's
Yes.
parents, yeah. Because Polly Newman was on the board at
Right.
that time, and I think that she obviously would like to see it happen out there, which it did, and nobody can argue that it's not an outstanding facility now.
To me, it looks like a small college campus.
It does,
You know,
it
it's
does.
just got everything you need there. But yeah, I remember Dad taking me up that back road to Newman's, which that was the way you got to their
That's
house.
right.
And the only way you could get up on that hillside, and I could just see it right now. He said, over that hillside there, that's where you're going to go to school.
That's right.
He told me that when I was 6 or 7 years old.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well,
And he was right on the money.
he knew the story.
Yeah,
Right.
so that was pretty amazing, but, yeah, the history of how schools have gone from small towns to these consolidations is good and bad.
That's right. Well, and I think I think our school system speaks for itself. I think we have an awful lot of accomplishments, and I think we have a lot of good things that have said about it. And I think I don't know how we stand rating wise, but both of our girls are teachers, and I know that they're even more familiar with the intricate workings of what goes on, and they gave South Dearborn really a very, very high. Chris teaches in Sunman Dearborn, and Gayla was over at Bloomington, and she taught in, I think you call it Richland Bean Blossom. She taught it at Ellisville. elementary, of course, but they think that South Dearborn is just outstanding. Both of them do, and I'm sure that they know more about it than I do.
Well, Aurora was a seed that germinated and became that school.
Exactly. Worked out well.
Yeah.
For sure. That's for sure.